welcome to the EFN Presents review of Season 4, Episode 12, Pinkie Pride. Joining me today from Elements of Harmony, we have Forest Rain.
Hey!
Starlight Ironhoof.
Hey, guys.
Zeta Prime.
What up?
And Infinite Pony.
Hey.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem.
Thank you.
Anytime.
And I cannot think of anyone else I would rather have for this episode review because this is the Weird Al episode, it's chock full of songs. It really is the second musical episode in the series, isn't it?
Yeah. There was, I think, 7 songs.
Well, obviously it's a Weird Al episode, so how can you not?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's a Pinkie and Weird Al episode,
Yeah.
so it is the official party episode of Season 4, and the songs just add to the spectacle of that.
In some ways, I was almost expecting them to have, no songs just to throw everybody off.
Oh, that would be such a waste, though.
I know.
I mean, Pinkie has had a penchant for songs throughout the entire series, and Cheese Sandwich really is supposed to be just like Pinkie Pie. They give him a cheesy sense, and they even give him a similar hairstyle with that big curl at the front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And on top of that, this was Amy Keating-Rogers' first episode after coming back from taking a season off, and she writes amazing lyrics for Pinkie Pie. You know, she did the Smile, Smile, Smile song.
Which we hear a great polka version of in this episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
The tiny little bit.
Yeah.
And just the amount of songs in this episode was fantastic, because I was in Hacks Mega's stream as the show was playing live earlier today, and every time a song came on, people were like, song number 1, song number 2, and they just kept going, and the final count at the end was 7, but for at least the people that were in the chat, I was like, 7 songs!
Were you surprised to see that Weird Al didn't get any writing credits for the songs in this episode?
Oh,
We
yeah.
all watched this together, and that was the first thing we looked for in the credits.
What really threw me off more than him not writing the music was that he didn't even do any lyrics, so that just threw me for a really big loop.
Well, and I think actually Daniel on Twitter, he mentioned the fact that he was the one who did all the lyrics for it.
Amy did some of the lyrics, if you read the credits.
Yeah, it was Amy and Danny for the lyrics, and pretty much just Danny for the music, right?
Well, he was probably thinking, well, this is their show. I don't want to make this all about me, so I'm just going to let them do it, and I'm just being a participant.
Yeah, a talent, yes.
A talent, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel the songs fit the episode? It starts off with Pinkie the Party Planner, which definitely has that musical vibe to it. It ends with Make a Wish, which is more of a pop song. And of course you have the Weird Al songs in between.
I showed up for the polka, goof off, best song ever, hands down.
Personally, I went for Pinkie's Lament.
I kind of like those chorusy songs that have groups of people singing, so I kind of like the that first song.
I was a fan of a lot of the songs in the episode, but one of the things that struck me with almost all the songs in this episode was that they kind of harken back to, Season 2 type of songs. A lot of what we've seen in Season 4 so far has been kind of the electronic pop type stuff, which is alright, but it's not my thing. It's not why I really like the music of MLP. But, all of these songs, or most of the songs in this episode, sounded a lot like Season 2 stuff. They have that sort of folksy vibe, and it's very Daniel Ingram, in my opinion. And the other thing is that at least half the songs in here sound, at least so far as in the progressions and instrumentation, a lot like the Cutie Mark song. That's what my cutie mark is telling me. That song. And that's all I heard the entire time. It's like like all of that sounds very similar to so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to the songs in this episode feeling more like the songs from previous seasons, obviously you wouldn't include Make a Wish in that list, would you? Because that definitely is a very pop electronic song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of, actually, Equestria Girls.
Yeah. And I'm with Forrest on that. That's not the kind of music from MLP I like. It's kind of catchy, but it's just not my cup of tea.
I also think the writing of the episode altogether, the whole storyline was much more Season 2, Season 1-like. Because a lot of these episodes in Season 4 kind of seem to be exasperating a lot of each of the main sixes, their traits and talents. Like, Pinkie Pie has been, well, a lot like Pinkie Pie. Like, she's been really hyperactive, always crazy, fourth wall breaking, this, that, and the other. This episode kind of went back to that, a little bit more depth building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, this episode definitely centered around Pinkie Pie, and something we've heard time and again this season regarding Pinkie Pie is how they were turning her character into an idiot. She wasn't the Pinkie we remember from previous seasons, but she really does seem true to form in this episode, which is really important because this is Pinkie's key episode, which of course is going to center around Pinkie's element and a personal failing thereof, but that raises the question of how do you do laughter wrong? In Rarity Takes Manhattan, we see Rarity being selfish. In Rainbow Falls, we see Rainbow Dash not being loyal. In Party of One, we saw Pinkie being Pinkamena, but in that episode, the one who got hurt was Pinkie. And the key episodes have really been about how not living up to their element, they're hurting the people around them. So it raises the question of how does not laughter hurt someone around you? How do you feel that was addressed in this episode?
It's good. You said it right. It really is hard to show laughter wrong. But the struggle for Pinkie was more so not doing laughter wrong per se, but just
Not doing it the best.
well, not being the best and realizing that her friends aren't abandoning her, because that's her greatest fear, right? Like, getting kind of in depth here, it's I think one of Pinkie's greatest fears is not being fun enough for her friends, or not keeping her friends entertained, and just having everybody kind of drift apart.
Well, we definitely saw that in Party of One, but the resolution of that episode was her friends reassuring Pinkie that she was important to them, whereas to fit with the other key episodes, this really had to be a self-realization on the part of Pinkie Pie. And I shouldn't have said how to do laughter wrong, but it definitely is a failure to represent her element.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring up that she realized that her friends weren't abandoning her, but personally, I think it revolves more around Pinkie's ego and her need to be recognized, not about actually making people laugh. And that comes out right at the beginning of the episode where she grabs Dash and gets really intense and says, "You realize by enlisting me as your party planner, etc., etc., etc." And you can see that Dash is a little uncomfortable with that situation. And she even says flat out, parties are serious business, which is not the goal of a party. The goal of a party is to be fun.
Yeah. It's like Twilight in Party of One, almost.
Yeah.
But one of the other things, mentioning ponies and their elements and not keeping to them, stuff like that, one of the comments that happened when I was watching earlier on the stream was when Cheese Sandwich came along and everybody kind of walked off with Cheese Sandwich to see, you know, what his thing was all about. Rainbow Dash was kind of like leading that whole thing, and somebody's like, "Oh, element of loyalty, everybody, look at that, blah, blah." And one of the things that struck me while I was in the shower earlier and ruminating about all this was that Rainbow Dash and the ponies in general are only pony, as in just like we are only human. They're only pony. They're going to make mistakes.
Right.
And it's not that you're representing your element every minute of every day and everything you do must be guided by this element.
Yeah.
But it's more so that at the end of the day, you realize where your priorities are and that you don't abandon your friends, or laughter and happiness don't come at the expense of your friends or yourself.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of people who enjoy the storytelling of MLP is that the characters are relatable. And a character can't be relatable unless they have flaws.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and even though it might be funny to say, in that aspect, an episode about Rainbow Dash's birthday is kind of about as much about Rainbow Dash as it is about Pinkie Pie in some aspects, just because, you know, Pinkie Pie was struggling with her issues, but Rainbow Dash was also just kind of like, throughout the episode, I mean, it kind of, at points she seemed like she wasn't enjoying it, and then she was enjoying it, but at the end of the day, she wanted to make sure that her friend Pinkie Pie was happy and didn't feel abandoned.
And a lot of this episode does center around Rainbow Dash in particular being put into these awkward positions, like having to judge the contest and, you know, having to choose between Pinkie or Cheese Sandwich.
Right, which goes back to parties are supposed to be fun, and both Pinkie and Cheese are more concerned with figuring out who is the super duper party pony. And that might be important to them, but it's not to everyone around them. They just want to party. And that's why I don't think that her friends abandoned her, because you see the episode from Pinkie's point of view. You see the emphasis that she's putting on being the one to plan the party. But her friends aren't seeing that, and so they don't feel that they're abandoning her.
Well, it ties full circle at the end, what you're saying when they're telling Pinkie, look, he's our greatest guest party pony, but you're Ponyville's resident party pony. I mean, they're giving him the attention because it's like, hey, we're giving a visitor attention and he wants to show us what he's got and he's only here for a few days. So, it's nothing about he's better than you. It's just he's only here for a limited amount of time and you're always going to be here for us. We're your friends and we're going to be at all your parties too.
But let's be fair. His parties were more epic.
Oh, come on. He has cheese and polka. I felt like I was in Wisconsin again during this episode.
And like a party tank.
Yeah.
Party tank is canon.
And what about those lights that made Rainbow Dash in the sky?
Oh, yes.
I want some of those.
Going back to that line at the end when they say, oh, he's a great guest party pony, but you're the permanent party pony. I like that they don't say who's better. The contest doesn't have a winner, because ultimately I think that that's important for this episode.
That's part of the lesson.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's better because that's not important. What's important is that they're bringing people laughter. That's what they do. And yes, to put a significance on who was better is going against the message of the episode.
It did also end with Rainbow Dash going, oh my god, your party was awesome. It was amazing.
But
that was to both of them.
She was talking directly to Cheese, but the party was planned by both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
But even before she starts planning it, you have Pinkie sitting alone by her banner and it falls down, and Cheese Sandwich has people in hard hats in this big stage and everything is being put together, and I think that plays into Pinkie's insecurities to some extent. But it almost felt like a bit of a commentary on Pinkie's parties are hoof-made, they're very personal, and what Cheese Sandwich creates is a very manufactured, prepackaged experience in a way. So I was a little surprised that was an angle they didn't use in the episode.
One of the interesting things about this was how Cheese was inspired by Pinkie to become a party planner.
Yeah, like that's how he got his cutie mark, was from being at a Pinkie Pie party.
And that ties into the keys that the ponies have been receiving.
The alleged keys.
Yes, the alleged keys, sorry. Because this season introduced the journal, which the characters said other ponies could learn from their lessons. But in all of the key episodes, the pony that's given them the key hasn't been a pony that's learned from their lesson or their instruction. It's someone who's learned from the example that the main six has been setting. In Rarity Takes Manhattan, Coco was basically a background pony. Rarity had really no interactions with Coco, but by seeing Rarity put her friends before herself, she realized that she could do that too. And in Rainbow Falls, Rainbow Dash wasn't trying to teach anybody anything. It just surprises the Wonderbolts to see someone who's capable, who's not willing to compromise to win. And of course, in Pinkie Pride, the change that she makes in Another Pony happens well before this episode. Cheese Sandwich just wanders into one of Pinkie's parties, which in itself is a good lesson that you can lead people by example.
Yeah, she's just being Pinkie.
Well, I think that's kind of the point in the alleged key things, is that it's exactly that. They're not intentionally doing it. It's them being them.
Well, it just makes sense. Telling someone to be a good person can be hypocritical if you yourself aren't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of been the whole point of the whole series thus far, is it's living by example, pretty much.
Yeah, and I remember all the way back when they stopped sending letters to Celestia. I remember a lot of people being like, oh god, it's been like X episodes since there was a letter to Celestia. And I think some people really enjoy that. Now they're doing the whole diary thing again. It's kind of like the writing letters to Celestia.
Please don't call it a diary.
A journal.
Dear diary.
I brought this up in another episode where, dear diary, I met Brad today and he's so dreamy.
Well, that's what they called it.
I know, but it's a journal.
Dear Diary, I saw Flash Sentry today.
Oh no.
That was last week.
Regarding the lessons, the previous seasons really seem to revolve around the ponies being taught a lesson by others in terms of how to act, how to treat your friends. Whereas with season 4, it really has been more a self-realization. The characters know how to act. It's more about recognizing personal failures to live up to what they already know. Even though Rainbow Dash does get reprimanded a bit by Twilight and Rainbow Falls.
Yeah, now they're doing the people are learning from them. So now I'm just kind of wondering, since they have announced that season 5 is going to be a thing, I'm just now wondering how it's all going to come full circle. That they started with the main 6 realizing their elements and everything, and now that they're teaching, how they're going to continue that.
They open the box and it takes them back to the world and Equestria girls. The end.
Oh God.
Humans, no more pony.
One of the things that I enjoyed was that Pinkie learned her lesson. Like, the rainbow thing happened across her eyes when she was in the middle of the duel and dropped the giant cake thing on Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow couldn't get out. And she just looked and she's like, oh, this is what my actions have brought about.
Exactly. She was so caught up in herself and what she wanted that she failed to recognize that she was bringing people
pain.
Pain and uncomfortableness. Being a super party pony doesn't bring people laughter. Bringing people laughter means that she's a super party pony.
Actually, Ramble, on that one note that you mentioned, just going back for a second, even for the Rainbow Dash episode, that one still seemed to have come from within. Despite, like, Twilight's little talking to of Rainbow, even that wasn't fully the message of that episode.
Well, that's true. It's just a little different. In neither Pinkie Pride nor Rarity Takes Manhattan is there any prompting by their friends. Especially in this episode, because her friends don't even realize that there's an issue going on.
Yeah, kind of like when Pinkie Pie is like, I forfeit, that cheese sandwich wins her.
They're confused.
Yeah, Rainbow Dash was like, I haven't announced a winner yet.
Just going back to the change of the ponies having been taught lessons and now teaching others lessons is a continuation of a theme of personal responsibility. I think this really started with Magical Mystery Cure with Twilight singing, I've got to find a way. It's right in the title that Twilight must fix this for herself. She can't rely on others to do it for her. And we've had 2 songs like that in this season, one in Rarity Takes Manhattan with...
Generosity?
Yes, the reprise of Generosity, and now in Pinkie Pride with Pinkie's Lament. Although this song was a little odd because it doesn't end with the characters resolving their issue. It starts with Pinkie packing it in, putting away her party cannon, but then she sees the photos of all the parties she's held and all the joy she's brought people, and she realizes that she has to continue, but she immediately goes back to focusing on needing to be recognized as the party pony. So she falls right back into where she was before.
Yeah, which I think is just one of those things where it's like, oh, wait, I am good at this. I need to prove that I'm good at this. Until you realize that, no, I need to use my skills for good, not to prove that I'm good.
The one thing I was going to say, also on the note of the song, Pinkie's Lament, is it has a hashtag first in one respect compared to the other sad, solemn songs that have appeared throughout the series. Like, I've Got to Find a Way and the reprise to Generosity, they end on a low note, whereas this one actually transitioned from a low to a upbeat note.
Yeah, it came back to the Party Pony song at the end.
Yeah, which was unique because normally they end on a low note rather than ending on a high note.
It's also Pinkie Pie. You can't have a Pinkie Pie song end on a low note.
Party of One, that's all I have to say.
Party
Yeah.
of
Of
One,
course.
Was there actually a song in Party of One that ended like that?
yeah. Not really, actually.
Aha.
I thought it was really interesting they actually chose to use the song to show that turning point and realization, because I was at a press conference with Amy Keating Rogers, and she always said one of the big reasons she likes to use songs is because it really gives depth to something, because, like, you know, say Smile, 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 if she just says, hey, I like to make people smile. It's already done, gone, and it doesn't really have impact that a song would. So showing this turnaround of her getting down, turning it in, and then coming back up and coming back out, just having it as a musical number really gave it that more extra impact.
Heightens the depth of the emotion, yeah.
Well, across the board, if you took the songs out of this episode, I don't think it would be a very fun episode.
Nope.
No.
It was just fitting for the spectacle of the episode to have these grand songs to go along with some grand visuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean the very first song in all of My Little Pony Generation 4 was a Pinkie Pie song.
Yep.
I mean, it fits her character, plus now you've got Weird Al in the episode. I mean, to not make it a musical would be a crime against all humanity.
It's funny, one of the things about this was that, oh, it's a Weird Al episode, Weird Al's in this episode, Weird Al, blah, 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 Weird Al, Weird Al, Weird Al, Weird Al. And then Weird Al's presence in this episode really is kind of moot. It could really have been any other voice actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He nailed it, though. He's a really animated individual, and he's got the energy for his character to go up against Pinkie Pie and be believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the role he was playing.
Oh, he did a great job, but I think more the important point is this was the first time that they wrote a character around a guest star. And sometimes on television, that can really derail an episode, but they kept it grounded and they handled having a guest on really well.
Though, with regard to Weird Al being there, they did something that they wouldn't otherwise do, which is the thing that everybody, I'm sure, picked up on with the real-life imagery.
Yes.
Gummy and Boneless.
And Boneless, yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
That reminded me when they brought in the felt.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that they wouldn't have done without Weird Al. I think that it was just, this is a really goofy episode. What can we do to really do something that stands out?
Yeah. Somebody said that it was like, instead of breaking the fourth wall, that became the fifth wall.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about it is it's distinctly Weird Al style, because if you've ever watched Weird Al's music videos, it distinctly goes from real life to animation. And so
That's true.
They're starting out in animation, flipping to real life.
That's a good observation, actually.
But once again, I mean, that's one thing I've liked about these writers. Whenever they step out and do something out of the norm as some kind of call out, they don't distract from the episode when they do it.
No.
It's funny you compared the rubber chicken scene to the felt, because both of those were actually filmed in Jason Thiesen's basement.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I'm kind of interested where they filmed Boneless and Gummy.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of zoo or something.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, at least the gummy part. Yeah.
Watch it just be Jason Thiesen's basement again. That place is going to become a brony landmark.
Wow, he has a lake in his basement?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
He has a pet alligator.
now.
Yep.
Yeah, he keeps it in the bathtub.
Green screen.
Well, talking about Weird Al, even though he didn't write any of the songs, he's done a lot of parodies, so it was nice to have him sing part of Smell, 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 because that's probably the closest we're ever going to get to Weird Al doing a parody of an MLP song.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that Daniel worked in all the traditional Weird Al instruments into the songs and did sort of a polka section and, involved accordions and that kind of thing was nice.
Those closing credits.
And on that, I kind of like the call-outs to a couple different polka songs. I'm sure there's more, but the ones that I know were like the chicken dance, do the floppy chicken dance or whatever, and then roll out the barrel, beer barrel polka, roll out the party cannon. I don't know, I just thought those little call-outs to the genre of polka in general were interesting.
When he donned that polka outfit, it reminded me of his My Sharona, or My Bologna.
I really liked when Pinkie just sang in Spanish.
Yeah, was that them trying to go into like Teano or something?
That's actually a real song, too. Apparently it's a pinata that Pinkie was on. It's a pinata song, and it goes, hit it, hit it, hit it, don't lose your aim, because if you lose it, you lose the way. And I hope that's intentional, because if it is, it's pretty much irony in song form, because that's exactly what Pinkie's doing. She's more concerned with herself, and she's sort of fallen from the true path of laughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, might I say that Shannon Chankent's enunciation in the Spanish language is amazing.
Yeah, hearing Pinkie sing in Spanish was surprising, to say the least.
Totally.
Well, she has a degree in opera singing, so
True.
Wow.
I would hope so.
I didn't know that.
Well, that doesn't mean you know Spanish.
But often when you're doing opera, though, you're learning things in Spanish or Italian and stuff, and all those romantic languages are linked in some way.
That's a good point.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did that I went to an arts high school where we had vocal majors, and I did a triple major. I did vocal, instrumental, and drama. But one of the things that we had to do as part of our vocal major class in, I don't know, I think it was even grade 9, was we had to do a song in 2 different languages. So I wound up doing like some song in Italian, which I don't remember what it was, and a ballad in, I think, Latin or something. So yeah, that's definitely part of vocal training, especially when you're in college or university for it as well.
Even when I was in middle school, we were having to do stuff like that in choir. Any kind of vocal training you get, they're going to try to get you on Latin and Italian because there's just such a rich history of music in both of those languages.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to quickly mention on that goof off song, Rainbow Dash is a Packers fan. Yes, cheeseheads.
Okay.
Hey,
Looking into it a little
she enjoyed
much.
having that cheesehead on. No, that's not looking into it a little much. Show me someone who isn't a Packer fan that wears a cheesehead.
I wear one.
DJ Tetsuo?
I don't think I can fight that, actually.
That's like a Lego man head that DJ Tetsuo wears.
Close enough. That last song in this show,
Make-A-Wish?
I don't know if we have stats in yet, but how many remixes came from that?
There are going to be a flood of remixes for that.
When you say the last song, are you talking about the last song before the credits?
Before the credits, yeah. The song that's in the credits, I think, is a rehashing of Party Pony.
Yeah, it's a...
Instrumental.
Yeah.
Because I kind of want to see people write different lyrics to that, since it's just pure music.
It might happen. Musicians get bored, and then they do things.
Yes, we do. Like interviews on EFN Presents. Yay!
Yep.
Yay.
You know what? I'm almost wondering if Derpy's gonna get another Derpy episode just because of the fact, like, how much they brought her back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, these last 2 episodes.
Chocolate fountain.
She's been really prominent in these episodes. Like, they are absolutely trying to be like, this is Derpy, here she is.
It's really nice to see that they're not trying to hide her. Though I was expecting a bit of the classic fan backlash at the fact that she's helping set up the lights at the party and she's not making a disaster.
Yeah.
I expected some people to say, oh, they're ruining her character.
No.
I'm glad there isn't a backlash, because it's like Derpy can still do things, right?
Yeah, Derpy's fully capable of doing things.
It's just sometimes she eats the chocolate fountain directly from the fountain.
Or, like, lives in the apple bobbing container.
Yep. Sadly, I don't think we're going to see as much of her in later episodes. She really fit into this episode because she's a fun and carefree character. She really fits into an episode like this.
Yeah. The other thing, not in this episode, but I think it was the last episode where they brought her in as a replacement for Rainbow Dash's team.
Yeah, that was her reintroduction into the series.
Yeah. I actually got really scared because I thought that they were going to give her a voice.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't want them to get back into that at all.
I think we learned in Rainbow Falls that Derpy can do a lot in an episode without actually saying anything, so I don't think that they're going to go down that road.
Yeah, I think she'll probably most likely be... She might have a moment or two where she's like, oh, Rainbow Dash's replacement, like that, but I think for the most part they'll just like she'll just be like a fun joke for the bronies being Derpy Hooves.
You know what? I'd be okay with her getting a voice again. Why? Because bring it on, brony rage.
So Tim, how much Berry Punch did you see in this episode?
Remember when we were watching and I just kept saying, there's a berry, there's a berry, there's a
You
berry.
stopped saying it
Berry
after a
punch.
while, though.
Yeah, I got tired of saying it.
During the intro, Tim's like, oh, Berry Punch. Oh, Berry Punch. Oh, look, 2 Berry Punches.
On the Berry Punch lines, though, people keep asking me about this since I'm Berry Punch in the fandom, and there was that one scene in the flashback. Berry Punch was the only one that wasn't a Philly.
I think they mainly made people who ever had like a line was Phillies.
Colgate was
I'm
a
not
Philly
sure.
in there.
That's a good point.
Berry Punch is actually a robot from a different dimension.
A nice little fan nod in the Philly scene is where Colgate's wearing braces.
Well, she was a dentist in the Luna Eclipse episode.
Yeah.
And also, while we're on background ponies, Pinkie Pie has another sister.
Yes, in the photo we see her with 3 sisters.
I still say that other sister is named Clyde.
Clyde.
Clyde is not the father.
I just don't pay enough attention to notice these things.
Well, that's just it. These episodes are so dense, going back to Colgate wearing braces. You see that on screen for maybe half a second, but that's something someone consciously put an effort into that character in that one part of the screen for half a second of the episode. You really have to acknowledge the level of commitment that everyone puts into this show, whether it's the writers or the storyboarders or the musicians, because the amount of thought that goes into the smallest detail just blows my mind. Again, with Pinkie singing in Spanish, it's relevant to her situation. And that's not even something you can tell on a freeze frame. You actually have to go out and look up what she's actually singing to realize the connotations and how it fits with the episode.
We know that Ingram puts a lot of thought into it because of that whole thing with...
The deceptive cadence?
Yeah, with the deceptive cadence and, what was it, true cadence? Or perfect cadence, because it goes from a 5 to a 1. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Daniel obviously puts a lot of thought into this stuff.
Well, it's time again for final thoughts and scores. So, Starlight, could you give us your Adam Sessler for this episode and give it a score from 1 to 5 rubber chickens?
Now, the thing about this episode is, it is a brilliant combination of musical scoring and storytelling. They are able to bring in a special guest, Weird Al Yankovic, and not have him take the spotlight away from everything that's going on with the show. And on top of that, they managed to progress the overall arcing story for this season with the keys for the box. Overall, I have to give this episode a solid 5 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Zeta, how did you feel?
Tim was 100% correct. I mean, the story writing was excellent. The music was all added to the story very well and added a lot of depth. And yeah, it truly was amazing how they worked Weird Al into this episode. And kind of like we were discussing earlier, that you really could have done it with any character, but the fact that it was Weird Al added so much. And I just think overall that just kind of mixed really well all the different elements, everything, the background, the foreground. I just have to give it a solid 5 out of 5 rubber chickens as well.
Infinite?
I'm going to break everyone's heart here. I love the writing. The writing is excellent. I love Amy Keating Rogers' style. I love the music that went into it. Daniel Ingram always does an excellent job. However, it lacked in the diversity of songs that I was hoping for out of a song that was so proudly touted for its musicalness. So I have to go with a 4.75 out of 5 rubber chickens.
You have terrible taste, you're a terrible producer, and you're a terrible host. Get out.
You monster.
Forest Rain, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to be Simon Cowell here and say it was absolute rubbish. I hated everything about it, every moment of the show, and I would not want its children near me ever. No, I really liked the episode. For me, it harkened back to season 2 stuff with similar music that was around both in season 1 and 2. The sort of folky aspect, just kind of bringing us back to a simpler time before electronic pop Equestria Girls came out and everything was ruined, along with season 3. But let's not even think about that and just focus on this. Weird Al was in it. It was good. I've been a fan of Weird Al, and I was a little bit disappointed that more Weird Al didn't come through in this episode. Like, there was definitely that instrumentation and stuff in there, and the sort of vocals that were written for Weird Al were Weird Al-esque, but I would have liked if Weird Al actually had a hoof in creating his own lyrics or helping with some of the music somehow. That said, I give this episode a solid 10 chickens out of 5, because it was just a fantastically done episode, despite my objections with Weird Al not participating in a songwriting sense.
You just had to go there with 10 chickens.
Well, you guys hit on some great key points there, so I think I'll focus more on the moral of the story. Being a Pinkie episode, I think it's great that Pinkie here was true to form, especially after we've seen her be a little overdone in some of the other season 4 episodes. Amy Keating Rogers does a great job with Pinkie Pie, but we're also seeing another side of Pinkie Pie here. So we're not just seeing the character reaffirm themselves in this episode, we're actually seeing additional character development of Pinkie's character here. And so from the viewer's perspective, I think it's more effective than the loyalty or generosity episodes were, because there you knew the characters were falling short of their potential. But this episode does a really good job of getting you caught up with Pinkie's feelings. And yes, while Pinkie gets hurt, it happens because instead of wanting to be a part of something special, Rainbow Dash's birth anniversary, in a way she wants to be the focus of it. And so it gives the viewer a chance to reflect on how they perceive the situation, which I don't think we had in the other episodes. This episode hit the mark in every aspect. It is definitely a 5 out of 5. Well, that's about all for this week. Once again, I'd like to thank From Elements of Harmony, Forest Rain, Infinite Pony, Starlight Ironhoof, and Zeta Prime.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
It has been our pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And tune in next week for a review of Season 4, Episode 13, Simple Ways. This has been EFN Presents. Thanks for watching.
Bye!
Doodles.
Good night.